Alright, so the first thing you want to do with a mug is clean up the bottom if you're not going to trim it. So smooth it out with a sponge, and your lip also should be very smooth so that you're not going to cut yourself. And then you can decide what shape or size handle you might want. Take a piece of clay that's already wedged so there's no air bubbles in it. Roll it out into a cone shape. Just to start with, and then you can kind of smear it out so that it doesn't have any bumps in it. Okay, and that'll give you just some clay to start for pulling your handle. After that, add a lot of water. And you're gonna start by just smearing it some more and making all those bumps really smooth. Okay, so it's all nice and even. And after that, you can start pulling, which actually is more like pushing. If you pull on the clay, like actually just pull it apart, it'll rip apart, just like when you're pulling the clay out of the bucket. So it's more like pushing it, and you're kind of squeezing it, and it has nowhere to go except for out the bottom. And so it gets a little bit longer. You turn it and do it the other direction. You can do it slowly or a little bit fast, however you feel comfortable. And just keep turning your hand and pulling it out. You can do a little bit on the corner like this with your thumb to get a little bit of a bevel. Some people like to have it the opposite way, where it's wide on the sides and has a hole down the middle, or a groove down the middle. Some people like to have it beveled on the sides. I think I prefer my handles like that because when you're holding the cup, that's the shape that my hand makes. And it's kind of nice being wide and flat, so then when you're holding it, you have that the physics is kind of in your favor for turning and picking up that weight of the coffee in your mug. Okay, so you just continually coax the clay out and down a little bit more. It's nice if you leave the top and the bottom a little bit thicker and let it get kind of thin through the middle. So it's wider at the top and at the bottom. It's thinner in the middle and a little bit here too. That way it can be nice and strong where it's touching your mug and get thin and graceful, and then nice and strong again at the bottom. You'll see some potters have it really thick at the top. It just goes thick to thin. Some actually do it upside down, thick to thin. Not very many, but some do it that way. Also, working with the water over and over again on the clay makes it more flexible. Just like when you're throwing on the wheel and it collapses, it gets all floppy and flexible, but it wasn't like that if you just were working with it on the table. So this will hopefully make my handle flexible. At the end, I'll get the extra slip off. And I might tear some of this extra clay off, but being careful not to manipulate the handle part. Once it's perfect, then in one motion, I want to create the shape. So I'm just going to go like that, and then I'll set it down to dry in a handle shape. And if there are any little cracks, you can go ahead and fix them, but try not to touch it much. All right.